So to build a polygon using the information provided in the question, you're going to need a few things. You need to make sure you have a ruler and a protractor. The ruler should be a metric ruler, millimeter, centimeter ruler, so that you can be as precise as possible. This question is focusing on a parallelogram. It gives you the side length 4 meters by 5 meters with the internal angles of 110 degrees and 70 degrees. Now note, the side lengths are too long to draw on paper, therefore you're going to have to scale your diagram. Looking at my ruler, 10 centimeters is relatively small. Your ruler, 10 centimeters is a good size for your page, but because of my ruler, because that's small, I can't do a 1-to-1 ratio. I can't say let 1 centimeter equal 1 meter. If I did that, my diagram would be too small. It would be really hard to find my internal angles. Therefore, I'm going to say that let's let 1 meter equal 10 centimeters. I think that would make the best sense for my diagram. So 10 centimeters is going to equal 1 meter in reality. So using that in mind, or keeping that in mind, I'm going to take my ruler, and I recommend creating the bottom line first. So using the ruler, what you would do is put the ruler on your paper. Now I'm planning it out because I know that the shape is going to slant to the top left, so I want my bottom line to be slightly bottom right, and that's why I've moved it over to the bottom on the right hand side here a bit. And I take my pencil and I want to mark or start my line at the 0 line on my ruler, and then extend the line all the way, in this case, to 50 centimeters. Now you can't do it on your paper. You're probably going to be drawing maybe 5 centimeters, because you could probably run a 1-to-1 relationship on your paper where 1 meter is equal to 1 centimeter if you're going to try and draw the same diagram. Regardless, you have to make sure that bottom line is drawn perfectly. Now why did I do the bottom line first? It's the easiest thing to do. So now that the side is done, I can label the side length, and the side length in this case is 5 centimeters. Or is it 5 centimeters? I need to go back to my scale to check. According to my scale, I've said that 10 centimeters equals 1 meter. So if that's the case, then this side length isn't 5 centimeters. No, it's actually 50 centimeters. So if you check your ruler, or my ruler, it's 50 centimeters. So once I've labeled that, the next logical step would be to try and build one of the angles. So go side, angle, and then side. Or side, angle, and then side. We don't have any information on the top, so let's not make any assumptions yet. As you get more comfortable with this, you're going to start seeing patterns, and you'll know what your answers will be, but we don't know yet. So next step would be to take your protractor, put the vertex or the center point of your protractor, the center of that sun horizon, right on the end, right on the corner of that line, and extend the line off to the right. Now, that's the bottom arm of our angle. The other arm has to go from there all the way to 110 degrees, which is right about there. Okay? And then you take your pencil, put a dot on your paper, right where 110 degrees is, just above your protractor. Move your protractor out of the way, grab your ruler, and then draw a line. Connect the dots from this corner to the dot that you made. Doesn't matter how long the line is, it should go through those 2 dots though. And once you've made your line going through those 2 dots, then take your protractor again, measure the angle, make sure it's accurate. Every step that I'm saying you should be writing down, because it's a think aloud that clearly explains how to create a polygon. You'll notice here, that's 110 degrees. Once you've identified it with your protractor, write it in. Side, angle. We don't know the side, or we don't know the, we do know this side. Actually, it's supposed to be 4 meters, and according to this, if it's 4 meters, on my measurement, I need 40 centimeters. If you're doing a 1-to-1, you may only need 4 centimeters. So if I have to take my measurements in this case, then I would take my ruler. With the line that I've already drawn, I can measure how long it is, and if it's not long enough, I can just increase the size. But luckily for me, it's exactly 40 centimeters what it's supposed to be for my measurements. But again, you can start that as the 0 marker and just extend the line up as far as it has to go on the same angle. Once that's finished, I would recommend moving over to this side. We know this has to be 70 degrees. So take your protractor and do the same thing on this side. The bottom arm is the bottom line. Take the second arm that moves up all the way to 70 degrees. Mark it with your pencil, put a dot right at 70 degrees, boom. Move your protractor out of the way. Grab your ruler, draw the straight line from this corner all the way up through that dot that you've put on your paper, and you should end up with a line that looks kind of like this. And it should, again, check with your protractor, make sure it goes directly through that 70 degree mark. Boom. Take your pen, mark your angle. Done. Take your ruler, check the length. The length we know it needs to be, according to my scale, 40 centimeters. According to your scale, it may only be 4 centimeters, and that's okay. Mine's exactly 40 centimeters, so I can write that down too. This one I already know is 40 centimeters because I checked that one already, I just didn't write it down. So the next step, we've got almost the entire parallelogram built. Can't we just connect this point to this point? Wouldn't that finish the entire parallelogram? Not going to hurt, why not? So take the top and put the top on. Or just take your ruler and draw it. Once it's in place, then you can take your protractor, measure your internal angles, and take your ruler and check. And in fact, before we use the protractor, I think we should measure our internal angles, or measure our side length. Why? Well, I need to make sure if the side length is what it's supposed to be, if it's the same as the base, then I know that my parallelogram is correct. If the top side length is not the same as the base, I may have made a mistake. Then I can quickly go back and check. But if I don't check that now and I do all the angle work, it could all be wrong. So look at the top, it's exactly 50 centimeters. The bottom is 50 centimeters, that means it matches. So I've got it. Now I can take my protractor and do the measurements as I needed to. So try and make this lined up. That's the base vertex on the corner. Bottom line has to be right on that line. That's pretty close. 70 degrees. From here to here. 70 degrees. Interesting. I wonder if that's a pattern, if you can see a pattern anywhere. So if that's 70 degrees, let's check over here. I wonder what this one is. Again, let's take the base arm, put it along the base line, and take this arm, line up your vertices just like that. And this arm, so starting at 0, count up all the way to the edge. There's the second arm. And what do we get? That's 110 degrees. So it's 110 degrees. Again, an interesting thing that happened. Write it in. And the final step, before we finish everything, is to label. This angle is called an obtuse angle. How do you know it's obtuse? Well, it's greater than 90 degrees. And this angle is called an acute angle. How do you know it's acute? It's less than 90 degrees. Important. This shape is the parallelogram that we were asked to build in the question. And that's it.